Down at the bottom is, yeah, there we go.
Good evening. Welcome to Beyond the Mainstream, which is the new show from Unprecedented TV with me, Jacqui Devoy, and Mr. Richie Brown, just there. Hello, Richie.
Welcome.
We've got a very special guest tonight, and it's actually the co-founder of Unprecedented TV, Mr. Lembit Opik, and here he is now in the studio.
Greetings. We come in peace.
Good evening, Lembit. Nice to see you. How are you today?
I'm very excited. Honored to be your first guest on this exciting new show on Unprecedented. This is literally unprecedented.
It is. You've been a guest on many shows over the many years. You've had quite an exciting life, haven't you? I've been reading up on you today, and there's quite a few things that I found out I didn't know. Go on. Richie's been doing all the technical stuff and all the political side of things, and I'm looking for the gossip and the scandal, and it was quite easy to find, I must say.
You'll be busier then, I would say, Jacqui.
The tip of the iceberg today. There's a few more volumes to go through.
I did more politics than celebrity, but who cares? It's not interesting to most people. And I have to say, you're both celebrities too, so the honor is all mine. And I'm just so pleased that you're joining the unprecedented stable.
But you've been on proper telly, you have. You've been on I've Got News for You and all kinds of chat shows and stuff. And there was time where you were in the news a lot because of your relationships. But we'll talk about that later. Let's start with the political stuff. And I'll let Richie get a word in edgeways because it's going to be difficult if we don't let him. So, Richie,
absolutely.
You've got a few things that you wanted to ask Lembit. So off you go.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be interesting to hear about your career as a politician because you started politics, I believe, in 1997. So that was quite sort of an upward trend, I feel, for Britain. It was quite positive. I mean, I was quite young at the time, but I feel like after the 2008 crash, that not many people have the kind of view they did back then. If you want to walk us through a bit of that, your time with the Liberal Democrats, that'd be great.
I actually started in politics long before then. I was involved in student politics as president of the Students' Union at Bristol University, actually, in 1985. That was my first full-time job in politics. But you're right. In 1989, I joined the Lib Dems when they were still liberal and democratic. We might come back to that later. And Paddy Ashdown, who died recently, he convinced me to join the party. He was an amazing, an interesting personal life himself. One of the very few politicians who, after having been exposed for having an affair, his opinion poll rating went up, not down.
They called it Paddy Pantsdown, didn't they?
Well, yeah, Paddy Pantsdown, that's right. But since he's passed away, it's pants up forever now, I suppose. Yeah, anyway, I know. But he was a very interesting guy, very, very self-confident. I mean, he got away with it. That's how people saw it. But actually, he was a fairly regular bloke. And I think that's what I found persuasive about him. An ordinary human being with a huge charisma. And actually, I wanted to live in the world that he described, a libertarian world. That's what really drives me. So I got involved then, delivered leaflets, did all this stuff in Newcastle upon Tyne, got elected to the local council in 1992 in an area called South Gosforth. I loved that job. Actually enjoyed that more than being an MP. And then 97, almost as a last-minute stand-in when one of the Lib Dem MPs stood down, I got sort of shoveled into Parliament. And the rest is history. So those halcyon years in the 1990s, they were the best years for me because I really believed in it.
Oh, we've got a clip coming up now.
I know what this is. My first video, 1990. Wait till you see me.
Right.
Oh, I haven't seen this for years. This takes me back. This is my first wide-scale success as a video, a training video. It's got something of the Gregory's Girl about it, I think. Now I look at it. That's Newcastle, from the town moor.
Here he comes.
For the next minutes, Watch and listen. And you might just learn something that can help you increase your membership by 10%. That's right, 10% in just 8 weeks.
It's all we can
Sounds
afford.
good, doesn't it? Well, in this video, we're going to cover 3 things. Why membership matters, how to get members, and the action to make it happen. Okay then, let's start by talking to someone who knows a little bit about recruiting.
Oh, this takes me back. This is my first go at making a proper video. Look how young the youth is wasted on the young. It really is.
Hi, David. Hi.
How are you?
A bit wet.
Right, come on in, thanks.
25 years old then, 35 years ago. David Allwell, he's still in the same
Would you
job.
like to take a seat?
Yeah, sure.
What an extraordinary thing. Just to
Right then,
explain,
David, you were responsible for the Liberal Democrat
unless you want to
recruitment
recruit
campaign
members
in
to the Lib
run-up to
Dems, I'll
92
talk
general
over it.
election, were you not?
I'm
Yes,
not
I
sure,
was.
maybe the gallery can even turn the
The
volume
viewers
down.
at
But
home would be interested
Oh,
in a
viewers.
few answers to questions about membership.
that takes me back.
How old were
I
you in that?
haven't seen that for a decade or more. It was a massive success. Background to that was I became a hugely enthusiastic member of the Lib Dems. And in 1990, I was working for a fantastic company called Procter & Gamble. And P&G, they basically invented modern marketing. So I learned in P&G how to market things. And the Lib Dems didn't really have a clue how to do it. So I decided to make a video. I had an entire editing suite long before I had my own studios, obviously, decades before that. And I had David Morgan, who's a great guy, really good editor and director. And we just got together and we made this film. At the age of 25, I didn't realize I wasn't supposed to know how to do it.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
we couldn't afford special effects. So that was my girlfriend was behind that that seat. She eventually actually became a councillor herself in the Lib Dems, and she lives abroad now. And we just made it the recruitment zone. It was a roaring success, actually. And one of the reasons the Lib Dems did so well, we sold countless copies of it, pretty much to most of the country. And there I was, this 25-year-old earning a nice packet in advertising, suddenly thrust into the limelight by my own almost naive self-confidence.
Yeah, absolutely. And that obviously you're used to the limelight now. When you were first setting out in politics, would you describe yourself as popular back then with the people?
In 1992, simple answer is yes, but it wasn't an easy journey. I stood in Newcastle upon Tyne, and Lembit Opik, which is an Estonian name, it doesn't really lend itself to familiarity. Remember, nobody knew who I was. No one did. And so therefore, I was starting from ground zero. And I lost in 1990, lost in 1991, lost in 1992 in the general election, but I won in 1992 in local elections. And I knew I was going to win. This woman came to the door. We'd put so many leaflets out with Lembit Opik on them, which by a weird coincidence turns out to be an anagram of the phrase, I like to be MP. Who knew? Who knew? And this woman came to the door. Hilary Franks was the candidate I was standing against, Labour. And this woman said, who's the Labour candidate, Lembit? This really happened. Who's the Labour candidate, Lembit? I went, oh, it's a woman called Hilary Franks. She went, Hilary Franks? That's a strange name, Lembit. That's a strange name, Lembit. Is she foreign? And I went, no, she's from the area. She says, I'll be voting for you. What we need is a local lad. At that point, I knew I was going to win.
Well,
That's how it all began.
You were born in Northern Ireland, in County Down, I believe. And how long did you live there? Were you there throughout your childhood, or when did you move?
Born in Bangor, Northern Ireland. Bangor becomes relevant later on in our story, I think. And then bred in Belfast. I went to a great school, Royal Belfast Academical Institution, a grammar school in the state system. That's really how they do it over there. So the first 18 years solidly in the UK. Well, actually, the first year and a half was in America, but that's a whole different story. But after that, I cut my teeth in education and to an extent in politics in Northern Ireland. Very, very troubled place.
Yeah.
And then in 1983, when I was 18, I moved to Bristol University. I didn't even realize it, but by coincidence, my father had happened to go to Bristol as well.
Your dad
Many
was a
decades
famous, he was quite a well-known astronomer, wasn't he, your dad?
Well, my grandfather was, yeah. My father was a physicist, a nuclear physicist. My grandfather was an astronomer, and he'd done some PhD work there. So it was an extraordinary thing. I went there, started in aeronautical engineering, moved to economics, and graduated in philosophy, which was the beginning of my general ADHD approach towards life, I think.
And of course, you're a pilot. You've got a pilot's license. I only found that out today when we were chatting.
You know a lot about me. 1988, I got my license, but I remember 1970, I was on a plane, Vickers Vanguard, for those who care about these things. And in those days, they kept the cockpit open. There's none of this terrorist stuff going on in Britain. And I remember, because my parents knew I loved machines, they took me out to the front, and I was put on the lap of one of the pilots, and he said, have a go at flying it. So I put my hand on the control column. I remember being terrified, because I felt at that point I had the responsibility for everybody on the plane in my hands. I remember, to this moment, I can see it as clearly as I can see you. But I was terrified and absolutely immediately fell in love with aviation. And then 18 years later, I got my license, 1988. And I did it in 30 days. I'd already got some gliding experience. And I thought maybe that would be the path I'd go down, to be honest, Richie and Jacqui. But I realized in the end, I would love flying, but it wasn't my calling, not as a profession, though I did actually set up an airline and run that for a while, quite successfully. Yeah.
Wow. I mean, you've done so much, but let's get on to the gossip. That's enough about all that politics nonsense. We'll get back onto that. I wanted to talk about when the NHS saved your life. You had a car accident or something, didn't you?
Paragliding accident, 1998.
Yeah.
On the 13th of April, 98, I was an MP, and I was quite keen on paragliding. That's those parachutes you see jumping off the hillside, which is as mental as it sounds, really. Really exhilarating, but pretty dangerous.
We've actually got a video about it lined up. Should we have a quick look at that?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Now, to the outside world, former politician Lembit Opik has always appeared confident and self-assured, often to be found with a beautiful woman on his arm. Very little was known about a terrifying accident that he was involved in nearly 20 years ago, an accident which left him in constant pain and with a facial disfigurement he's been desperate to correct.
So last month, Lembit made the decision to undergo the first in a series of life-changing operations to correct what he terms the wonky jaw that had caused him so much physical and mental pain over the years. He joins us now to tell us more. Welcome to you. First of all, can we talk about this accident that happened, because not many people knew about this. This was in 98. You were 33 years old. What happened to you?
I was paragliding. I was flying above my constituency as it happened, and something went wrong. Maybe I made a mistake. Long and the short of it was I fell about 30 yards, about 28 meters, and I broke my back in 12 places. I smashed my ribs, my sternum, my jaw. But we didn't realise I'd smashed my jaw because I was that close to death.
Right.
So nothing was done about that. The Royal Shrewsbury Hospital put me together, and then Gabowen Hospital, back hospital. But about a week and a half later, this had set. And I'd always had a slightly wonky face. It made it a lot worse, and I've been living with that for 18 years.
So it's got worse over a period of time?
Yes. My face was always a bit asymmetrical, to use the technical term, but the way it healed, it became, frankly, a nightmare. You were quite right. Constant pain, not able to eat properly, and my teeth were disintegrating because only 2 of them were actually meeting. And then 7 years ago, some of the work just broke completely, and I knew then there was no way out of having this big
You
operation.
had to do something about it. So the procedure that they suggested to you was to have this what's known as a reverse facelift, and this can have a huge difference. I mean, the changes, you look in the mirror, you see something completely different, don't you?
To you might see a small amendment. To me, it is a different face. It's a stranger. And it sounds ridiculous, but we got counselling for it. Everybody gets this sort of operation does. And it's 14 millimetres to the left, that's right, and 6 millimetres up, and they twisted it. They basically cut the bottom of my face off and put it back on again.
Wow.
And the x-rays look like Terminator, because it's all this titanium in there as well. But it was incredible.
I mean,
So let's
Absolutely
look at the. We can see the massive difference. It's extraordinary.
Yeah, it really is. Do you know what? I didn't overly notice it to begin with. I know living with it for you, obviously with your teeth disintegrating and all that sort of stuff, but I didn't overly. It's only when you see it like that and you can see the difference.
It's side by side when you really notice it, and my friends really notice it. I'm seeing my mum for the first time today, and I'm sure she'll notice it too. There's one more op to go.
Wow, you look better now than you did back then. You look older back then than you do now.
That's because when you put fat on your face, it makes you look younger. As I realised, and I've got more weight now, because one of the things about it, the situation I haven't seen that for a long time, and actually I'm reminiscing about the accident as well. Horrendous experience, nearly got killed actually. But what was happening from 1998 till that's about 2011, 2012 that occurred, was I was progressively losing my ability to eat. As I said in that interview, only 2 of my teeth were actually meeting. All the other ones were apart. So it was like a little bit like that. Instead of doing this, it was like doing this. And so the teeth that were meeting were doing all the work, and they were eventually breaking. And so I'd lost about 3 or 4 teeth. They're all just in bits. And I couldn't eat. And so I was living on soup. I was basically living on liquids. And I went to a private health clinic, and they said, well, this will cost you 80,000, 90,000 pounds. I said, I'll have to live with it. They said, let's see what the NHS thinks. I went to Royal Bartholomew Hospital, St. Thomas's, Royal Bartholomew, sorry, in Whitechapel in East London. And they said, this is really serious. This isn't aesthetic. You can't eat. And if you carry on like this, you're going to break the rest of your teeth. And so they said, we're going to start working on it. The process took 9 years, 10 years, actually, 10 years. I've been in a hospital 110, 130 times probably, with lots of operations, because they have to be very careful. To be blunt about it, it's because it's near your brain and all the blood vessels and everything. One mistake and you're dead. So they did it step by step, and there was all this correction and everything else. And the miracle happened. They put my teeth together. My teeth aren't perfect. They're far from perfect, Richie and Jacqui, but I can eat now. And it changed my total experience of being able to, well, just get on with my life. And the most important thing about it is that I'm still here, and that I may not have even been alive. So all of this in a way is bonus. I could have actually just lost a lot. So what happened to me in the end was that I came out the other end grateful to be alive and able to eat. But it has an aesthetic benefit as well. You can see the lights change for dramatic effect there. But I didn't do that in a kind of a Dracula kind of way. But it has a slightly beneficial effect, because you can actually see it's much more symmetrical. And it was never symmetrical. My life and my face, that's an interesting Freudian point. My face was never symmetrical, and it really, really messed me up when I was a kid. I was so self-conscious about it. And then suddenly, at the other end of this process, I actually become able to see that my face is now symmetrical. But the whole thing was a nightmare. It was such a difficult thing.
There's been some real horror stories in your life. You mentioned breaking.
What year was this?
Yeah, what year was that?
The accident was in 1998.
Yeah.
The operation and that interview was around 2012. So it was about 15 years later. And I still have some treatment for it.
Yeah.
Never be completely right. But they saved my life without realizing that they weren't saving my face.
You mentioned breaking it back, but I watched a video earlier of you in a wrestling ring. Oh. And I honestly thought, oh my God, that guy, what was his name? That wrestler threw you down.
Cade Callis.
That's the one, yeah, Cade Callis. He threw you down, slammed you down on the floor of that ring so hard, I thought your back has got to be broken. Can we see a little clip of that, please?
He was the hard man of politics, Lembit Opik blazing a trail through Westminster, taking on any challenge, big or small, standing up for the little man, until the little man kicked him out of Parliament in 2010. Cast into the wilderness on the eve of his party grabbing hold of the reins of power. Well, he won't take it anymore, you see. So when he spots a wrestler cheating, he's not scared, not even when 18-stone Cade Callis throws him into the ring. Luckily, he's saved by another wrestler, but he's a fighter, so he challenges his attacker to a tag team match. Okay, so it's a stunt. Lembit drumming up a bit of publicity ahead of his first full wrestling bout in June. A sellout crowd cheer him on in his former constituency in North Wales. Just the latest stunt for Publicity's shy Lembit, still trying to find his niche after being shunned by the public, a weather girl and a cheeky girl. Did you hear the one about the former MP who took up stand-up? Well, Lembit's already done that too. How did that go? Well, now he's trying wrestling, so how do you think? I would say don't give up the day job, but I guess that's too late.
Never seen that before.
There's actually a video. That's not the one I watched. The video I saw is you actually being slammed down, and then the guy like throws himself on you. It looks like he's throwing his full body weight on you, but I think most of it went onto his hands. But I just thought that must have been terrifying. And it does look like a stunt, but if it was a very clever stunt. What was that all about?
I say this now with the benefit of years and some humility. What it was about was hubris. Richie and Jacqui, my advice is never go into wrestling. People say it's a dance. If you're really good at it, I think you can avoid getting hurt. A bit like cave diving or jumping out of an aircraft at 60,000 feet. Well, I haven't done any cave diving and I've never done any proper parachuting. And I have never done any wrestling. But the wrestlers came to town into Welshpool. I was still living up in my old constituency. I'd lost my seat. I was politically down and out and pretty much drifting in life. I went along to have a look at the invitation of a friend. And this guy, Cade Callis, who I think lives in Cardiff, he just took an instant dislike to me. He kept staring at me off the ring. I thought, oh, yeah, okay, here we go. Here comes the la-di-da giant haystacks performance. But as you saw there, and I don't know if the team has got, your gallery's got a copy of the actual attack, but he just comes at me. He comes out of the ring and challenges me to have a bout with him. Yeah. Well, I was actually quite scared. So I went, yeah, okay, because I just thought it would pass. I thought it'd probably make it into the local paper, the County Times, but that'd be it. But after I said it, I was trapped by the media, because the media knew once I'd made that promise, I was likely to keep it if they reminded me. Yeah. So sure enough, 2 months later or 3 months later, I was caught back in that ring. And I'd done some training. Somebody I knew who's in wrestling had taught me some of the moves. And I learned that it's not really quite the dance you think it is. No. Cade hated me. And what actually happened, I don't know if we'll see the video of it. He actually had me in the ring, and it was 2 plus 2, the 4 of us in the ring. And Cade was just going for me. And my partner and the wrestling partner, he was actually protecting me, and it stopped being funny. The audience, of course, loved it, but I didn't love it. Eventually, what he did was he was really going for me, and I got out of the ring because I could see this was getting nasty. And I don't know how he did it, but when the other guy wasn't watching, he pulled me into the ring again, then dropped me onto his knee, which is called a rib cracker, and it did crack my ribs. And then I was lying there on my back. Slowly, the audience began to realize this wasn't pretend anymore. And then he did what's called a splash. Bang! On 18 stone on top of you. I was carried out in a stretcher. And
I saw that whole thing. If people want to see that on YouTube, by the way, it's called Lembit Opik is hospitalised by Cade Callis, Cade with a K, 2nd of June 2012, Welsh Wrestling, so people can look that up. In that clip, you it was mentioned the weather girl and the cheeky girl. Some people remember those people, but a lot of younger people won't. Obviously, Sian Lloyd was the weather girl that you had a relationship with for a few years. And you were going to get married to her, weren't you, at one point? And we've got another clip of you and her talking on the Rob Brydon chat show about the wedding. So we're just going to have a quick look at that, if that's okay with you.
So the wedding now is looming. Yeah. Who is going to be the best man? I think Charles Kennedy. I think Charles Kennedy would be a best man. I think he'd be very good.
I think he would be very good, but I haven't asked him yet. But that's a good thought.
Good thought.
People always say, "Where were you when Kennedy was shot?" Don't they? I think with him it's more, "Where were you when Kennedy had a shot?"
That is so naughty.
Political satire. It's political satire. I apologise for that. I do. Will you be inviting him seriously?
He'll definitely be invited. There's no question about that.
Not best man, though.
Possibly. We haven't discussed it yet. You know, if he says so, then he certainly will be. Yes. He's my boss, after all.
Tell you what, if he sees this, he's going to be offended, isn't he?
Yes. But not by me, Keith.
It's like Prime Minister's question time. That's just a dream for someone like me. And you. I made that one up myself.
It was,
Champion.
No.
It's a bit of fun, Lembit. It's a bit of fun. I'm trying to relax. Speaking of relaxation, what do you do to unwind?
We talk about politics and the weather. Yeah. And chess and Scrabble. We play Scrabble, yes.
Yeah. And Lembit sings to me. He's got a great voice.
I do sometimes.
Yeah.
Sing.
That first week he was talking about when we fell in love.
Yes.
He wooed me. He's got an amazing voice. I'll never forget, on the balcony of the St David's Hotel in Cardiff Bay, gorgeous moonlit night, and he sang me beautiful Frank Sinatra songs.
That was a very private moment for just the two of us, but thanks for sharing.
What did he sing? Frank Sinatra, that gives us a clue. New York.
It was Fly Me to the Moon, I think it was.
Oh.
Something like that. Or I think it was maybe John Martin's song, May You Never. That's a hint.
I love John Martin.
Do you?
May you never lay your
That's
head
the one.
down.
Yeah.
Come on. Without
No, I can't do that.
Hold.
I could play along,
What are you
though.
doing? He's brought a harmonica with him, ladies and gentlemen.
Nice, that's the only instrument I play.
Come on, then.
There's something in there. You didn't know I had that.
I didn't know you had that.
I always have a harmonica in my pocket.
He does. Yeah.
Vote for Lembit. He's got a harmonica. It's different.
That's very funny. Harmonica in your pocket, or are you pleased to see me?
You saw that. That was lost on the audience that time.
Really? I was a bit surprised when you called him Keith, because I was thinking he's not called Keith, he's called Rob.
Why did I call him Keith? Oh, Keith Barrett.
Yes, his name's Rob Brydon, isn't it? But that's quite weird.
Yeah, his name's Rob Brydon. I think the program was called Keith Barrett Show or something like that.
Yeah, that's right. I've never seen that. Well, I don't remember seeing it.
And,
so with you and Sian, I know you broke up, obviously, otherwise you'd still be with her. But she wrote a book.
Thanks for that. Yeah, great logic. Yeah, yes, that's correct.
She wrote a book, and she wasn't very nice about you. Apparently, I don't know what she said, but yeah.
I do.
Okay. Well, we don't want people to buy the book. Are you going to tell us, or should we let them find out for themselves?
Sian finished with me, but the press didn't find that story so interesting. So they made it sound, because it's alliterative, Lembit leaves where the girl for a cheeky girl, but it was actually libelous. It was wrong. Sian finished the relationship. So much so that she actually phoned up a TV program that said I'd dumped her to tell them that she'd dumped me. And actually, the book made that quite clear, but that was never really the way it's been reported. To this day, I still live with the assumption that I was the bad boy that walked away. Richie, you must be loving the fact that you haven't had my life, because all of this is. How does this compare with yours, Richie? Because I feel this is like a dark version of This Is Your Life.
Well, you've certainly led an interesting life. I was just reading up on you, and your hobby is motorcycling as well. So you've got a lot of safe hobbies to go thereby when you're not tackling wrestlers or jumping off a cliff.
I hadn't thought about it as a pattern. Somebody once said to me, Richie, that we have a risk quotient. In simple terms, there's a certain amount of risk we all need, like a certain amount of salt we all need, or a certain amount of bread we all want to eat, or something, or a certain amount of daytime TV we all want to watch. And you all will always get it. I've never thought of myself as being risk attracted, but you are right. There is something about my repeating issues that makes me think that perhaps I underestimate how much risk I like. I don't really enjoy the risk, though.
Yeah, there's a certain type of person. They're called T-types, and they've got a different kind of blood. They're thrill seekers, and they've got a different kind of blood, apparently, to people who aren't thrill seekers. So I've become more of a thrill seeker as I've got older, I think, weirdly. I hope you don't have that thing. I hope you calm down a bit, because you can end up in big trouble. Was it a big thrill when you started going out with Gabriella Irimia, one of the cheeky girls back in the 90s, because obviously she was a bit younger than you, and she was like if there could be an opposite profession to what you were doing, it would be being a member of the cheeky girls. It was her and her sister. Were they twins? Can't remember. But you went out with her for a couple of years. How did you meet? I mean, how did your paths cross?
I was playing the harmonica. It's because of my harmonica. I was playing the harmonica, and I think it was Channel 5's All-Star Talent Show.
Yeah.
Something like that. And this was in 2006. And I met her actually before I even realized the implications of any kind of a relationship, because I wasn't thinking about relationship or anything like that.
Yeah.
And that was in West London. Then shortly after that, Sean finished with me. And then I met her again 6 to 8 weeks later, something like that. And we started going out with each other. I had no idea, and this makes me sound even more naive, no idea that the fact that she was part of this pop duo that I liked the music of, I just like that kind of pop music, that this would suddenly become one of the big stories of the time in politics. But sure enough,
I ask you, what was it about her cute little pert buttocks and her tiny hot pants that you liked?
the answer is contained in your question. But it's not just that. I actually got on very well with her, and it wasn't love at first sight or anything. We didn't start going out with each other the moment we met, but it was quite some time after that.
Yeah.
Sean, I met her before Sean finished with me, but I started going out with her sometime afterwards. But that gave the press the chance to mislead the world on that. But I was just very engaged with her. Why? Because she was effervescent. She had a presence. She had obviously she wasn't exactly ugly. Let's not pretend. Let's not pretend. Let's put that on the table. But she was also wonderful fun. And one thing led to another. And suddenly, when it came out in the media, everybody wanted to talk about that. Photograph was taken the day I met Nikolai Sarkozy, one of the most unpleasant politicians I've ever met. That was a dinner. But yeah, and then suddenly we were all over the world, all over the press. Everybody wanted to talk about it. And you know what? I went into Parliament with her quite often, and then they'd rubbish me for it, but they'd all want a photograph.
Yeah, no, she's gorgeous. She's absolutely gorgeous. Richie, over to you. Got any more questions?
Yeah, what do you think about the digital ID that the Labour Party have just announced?
From the cheeky girls to the digital ID.
Why not?
That's an interesting segue. It's terrible. It's terrible. Moving into that subject, the reality here is that they want to introduce it to sort of control migration. That's the underlying story here. But here's the problem. If you come across in a small boat from Calais to Dover and you throw your passport in the sea, no one knows who you even are. So you come here, you claim you're 15 and you're 25, you're a man of fighting age, you get put in a 4-star hotel. It does nothing to stop any of that. But woe betide the British citizen with a known identity who can experience facial recognition, who says hurty words on the internet. I loathe this idea, Richie. I loathe it because basically it robs us of our privacy without giving us any return. There's no benefit to us at all from this. But of course, those people who come in here with anonymous, they want, unless we actually get to grips with it. I'm a libertarian, Richie. The reason I got involved in politics is to protect your freedom and mine. That's what inspired me about the chap we were talking about before, Paddy Ashdown, the late great leader of the Lib Dems. He believed in liberty. The current bunch are a shower. They don't even understand liberty. You know that we've actually got over 12,000 arrests a year for hurty words on the internet.
I was looking at that list. It's shocking. Yeah, I got the list here because I thought we might come across this. 12,183 for the UK. Belarus next is 6,000. Germany 3,500. China 1,500. Then you get to Russia, it's 400. Poland 300. Yeah, it's absolutely shocking.
That's ridiculous. 30 people a day. Over 30 people a day in this country get arrested for what they say on social networks. I'm a libertarian. You can say what you like, as long as you're not actually inciting violence. You can say what you like, including about me. I'm a big boy. I go onto the social networks. I know that the language etiquette is different there than it would be if we were in a pub or something like that, or in the street. But in this country, we're losing that identity freedom. And so I'm totally against the digital identity thing. What about you two? What do you think, Richie?
Yeah, I think it's terrible. I mean, if I was conspiratorial minded, I might say that they made the migrant crisis to bring in the digital ID, but there is precedent for it. We had the National Registration Act of 1939 when they brought in ID cards, and everyone had to. They were like color coded, whether you're an adult or a child, and the adults had to have the child's ID cards and stuff like that. But eventually, the Attlee government continued it after the war. And then eventually, the last person to be arrested for it was a fellow named Harry Wilcock, and he was stopped for speeding, asked to produce his ID card, and he just said, no, I shove off, I don't agree with any of this. And then they basically arrested him, they charged him and stuff, but he was the last person to be, and then they had to repeal it because it was just so unpopular. So I'm hoping that there's a movement that people understand what is going on, a movement, a pushback against these digital IDs. But it's a bit more difficult because with the ID cards back then, it was just a matter of carrying an ID card around. Whereas now you've got facial recognition, you've got all this data going into like Oracle servers, and then you've got Palantir in the background that, assigning us a score of whether we're a threat to the state or not, so.
Well, I think that's what it's all about. We're on the brink of being like China and bringing in a social credit scoring system, and tracking your every purchase, and then being questioned about it, and then being not allowed to purchase if you're misbehaved, and there's been some sort of Black Mirror type films, but they're actually so close to the truth now. And then of course we've got the online safety bill, which was very stealthily passed back in July, and most people don't even know about that. The mainstream didn't pick up on it. I wrote an article about it. It's in this month's edition of The Light. And again, it's for your safety, and it's nothing about safety at all. It's absolutely nothing to do with safety. Oh, it's for the safety of the children. No, it's not. It's absolutely not. It's about curtailing your freedoms and restricting everything you do. That's my opinion on it.
Yeah, right. I totally agree with you, Jacqui. And Richie, what bothers me about it is pretty much what you said. I didn't realize how knowledgeable you are about ID cards. And I'm in another time when I'm going to interview you, I want to find out why you know so much about it. Maybe you're as old as Joe Biden.
That's why I've got Richie as a co-host, because he's the clever one. I'm the
don't be silly.
You're both super intelligent in your own ways, but the thing is, we're now heading to a situation which is like 1939. The difference is the Germans aren't about to invade the United Kingdom. The greatest irony, of course, is we were able to repel the German Wehrmacht to the extent that they didn't even dare to cross the channel. But now we get army-sized battalions of men of fighting age coming across from Calais to Dover and onto the beaches and running up the beach. And I can promise you it's orders of magnitude more than the numbers that are reported, because I know people who live on the South Coast, and they will not be deterred by the fact that we have to have ID cards. It's a national disgrace that we've got a government so weak that they'd rather know what you're doing, snoop into your affairs, than actually invest the money in actually guarding the border.
Yeah, of course, a lot of people say, when martial law is brought in, which I've been talking about for about 10 years, and it will be brought in, they'll find an excuse to bring that in, no problem. People say, oh, well, our military won't turn on the people, but it's not going to be our military. It's going to be these imported soldiers who really probably don't care about us at all or like us in the slightest. We've got one more clip to show where you're talking about the state of Parliament. You're on GB News a while ago, and you were talking about Parliament. Let's have a look at that.
So I'm also joined in the studio by former Liberal Democrat MP Lembit Opik. Lembit, thank you very much for coming in.
My pleasure.
So what do you feel then Parliament has it always had these problems, and why is it sort of now that they're sort of looking at this situation when, if that is the case, they could have done that a lot sooner?
I really respect Dennis. He's a friend of mine, but I don't share his view. For this reason, it's an immensely charged parliamentary environment, and it's intense, and you want intensely committed people there. With that comes a degree of colour. With that degree comes a degree sometimes of flirtation, which is often, and I would say usually mutual on both sides, between politicians, as we well know if you read Edwina Curry's biography, and also sometimes between politicians and staff. I would say the overwhelming period of time that I was there, that was all benign. But there are some cases, as in any work environment, where it goes wrong. But I'd ask Dan, where does he draw the line? If a Member of Parliament is watching pornography in their state-rented accommodation, should that be banned? If a politician, male or female, asks, say, their member of staff out or somebody else, and they get turned down, is that wrong? Are we going to have an androgynous metrosexual environment where it's simply going to put off some of the highest motivated people? And I'll tell you, if we go down this path, there'll be no Winston Churchills, no John F. Kennedys, no Gladstones, no David Lloyd Georges, all of whom had a lot of colour in their lives, but I would say all four of whom did a good job.
And then we have GB News, the People's Channel, still being censored by Ofcom, obviously. You're setting up a channel. Well, you have set up a channel. In fact, we're on the channel, Unprecedented TV. And obviously, people want to subscribe. They can go to YouTube where they can actually subscribe there. Can you tell us about how you got to set up Unprecedented TV?
Yeah, first of all, I still stand by what I said in that interview. I loathe the witch hunt of ordinary people with charismatic personalities that go into politics. Almost by definition, if you want to be elected to Parliament and want to make a good job of it, you need to be leader-like. And we know that leaders, especially in the 20th century, had very colourful personal lives.
Yeah.
Now you're punished for that. Now you're blamed if you want to have a relationship with somebody you work with, and so forth. So I completely stand by what I said there. If you want a vanilla sky parliament, then let's carry on as we're doing. And then we get absolutely useless leaders, people like Keir Starmer and Nick Clegg, who ruined my old party. Turning to what you're saying, I'd answer it in this way. As far as I'm concerned, we now live in a society where colour, where personality, where faults are magnified beyond all proportionality, and that drives people out of politics. But let me ask you, before I go further, because I'm about to go into a polemic, what specific aspect of this do you want me to answer, Jacqui?
Just what made you have the desire to set up Unprecedented TV? When did you first have the idea?
Okay, so you do mean literally the station? All
yeah,
right.
the actual channel, yeah.
Okay, then it follows logically from what I said.
Yeah.
I was really unhappy with what I was seeing happening in Parliament. And I lost my seat in 2010, not through plan, but through just the happenstance of events. And I didn't think that the media was in such a bad shape. And I did quite a lot of work in actually nascent stations like GB News. And all the time, what was nagging me was this fact that you could be pariahed for small things, just like we've been discussing, just like I said in that interview. And then I realized there was no station who was truly libertarian, truly non-judgmental about things that just don't matter when it comes to politics.
Yeah.
And I would say GB News is one of those stations as well. They set themselves up as independent and free-minded, but I think that they've somehow diverted towards the mainstream. There's a pressure to conform. Like that. So I set up Unprecedented TV. It's taken me 4 years to do it, 5 years to do it actually. And what I want to do is create a station where people can truly say what they think. If you have strong right-wing tendencies, you can get the space to say it here. If you're extremely left-wing, you can come here. We've interviewed Tommy Robinson. We've interviewed a chap called Chris Williamson, who's intensely pro-Gaza. What I wanted to do is what so many stations promise to deliver, but they don't, because they get somehow corroded by the smell of money or power or fame. And so in one sentence, what Unprecedented TV, USP, which stands for Unprecedented Studio Partners, does is it gives voice to the voiceless and gives voice to the outspoken. Because you know one thing, Richie and Jacqui, that I've learned in my years, people are smart. They'll make sensible decisions and they don't need to be patronized. Things don't need to be censored. And the collective goodwill of the human race is far better than the rather mean-spirited bad will of Parliament. So what's Unprecedented here to do? Well, this sounds like a naive expectation, but as we've already established, I've been naive many times in my life. It's to literally see if free speech can work. Literally see if we can have offensive people on television and give the public the credibility from our end to think for themselves. And the thing that I've learned years ago is you can't give offense. You can never give offense. You can only take offense. And so that's what Unprecedented is trying to do. It's the first successful, as far as I know, online TV station in the world. It's not a podcast, it's a station.
Yeah, and as Rowan Atkinson once said, nobody has got the right not to be offended, which I totally agree with. And like you said earlier, people should be able to say whatever they like, unless they're inciting violence, actual violence, which is obviously a different matter altogether. But I always say, let them speak, let them say what they want, and let them make themselves look stupid. It's not my problem.
That's right. That's right. When people get cancelled, I think you think I'm so stupid that I can't make my decision up for myself. And that's the thing. This all began when I was in Parliament, like I said before. I was saying things about liberty. I voted against the ban on smoking, for example. If a pub can give you a smoking area and a non-smoking area, why not do it? Instead of banning smoking, why not set conditions for clean air? Because anybody who's been in an operating theatre, and I've been in many on account of my own experiences, will know that with vertical ventilation, I could be smoking 1 foot away from you and you wouldn't be able to smell it. Yeah. So as a libertarian, I realized I was being stymied in Parliament. The Lib Dems were nothing of the sort. They weren't being liberal and they weren't being particularly democratic. So I walked away, and then I realized I had an obligation to come back in. And I suppose I felt a calling to at least try and see if a truly free speech station could work. And so far it is.
Yeah, it is. And can you tell us a little bit about how it is at the moment, how many shows you've got running and how it's going?
We've got 9 shows, different shows running. We've got another 7 coming up. 10 with you here as well now. So 6 coming up. We produce about 40 hours of new material a week. Now, there are 168 hours in a week. But if you watch something like BBC News Channel, once you've watched for an hour, you've seen everything twice or 4 times, because they use the same packages again and again and again. And I hope sincerely that no one watches TV 24 hours a day. No. So success for me, and we're nearly there, Richie and Jacqui, is to have enough programming for it always to be worthwhile for people to come onto our station. Now, here's a return compliment to you for the nice things you said at the beginning about me. Richie and Jacqui, you are exactly the kind of people that we want on the station to present, because you don't get censored. I was just beginning to wonder if this sounds like some sort of propaganda, but I don't think it does, because it's not scripted. You don't get censored. You don't get told what to think. You don't get told what subjects to cover. You don't get told to say to even me, as the head of the station, what you're going to ask me. You don't get told to be polite. In actual fact, with the producer, I spoke to him before the program. I said, you're probably going to want to talk about the cheeky girls. He said, well, do you really want to talk about that? Yes, it's a free country. What are you going to do? Are you going to protect me? It completely contradicts the ethos I'm talking about with you now. Yeah. Yes, everyone can ask everything. And if I want to be offended, I can be offended. But that doesn't mean I shouldn't be asked. So that's what it's all about. And I'm getting evangelical about it because it's going well. We're actually getting a really huge number. We're getting a 6-figure number of viewers every week. That's like over 6 million a year so far. We're really on the way.
That's amazing.
Incredible.
Richie, what would you like to ask about that?
Well, I'll go with the background that you got there. I want to hear a bit more about your founding of Asgardia. That sounds. I was reading a bunch of that, and it sounds absolutely incredible.
Join us. We come in peace.
It does sound like that. Also, you'll have to do it pretty quickly because Richie's going to be in a pitch black room soon. Look.
Very briefly, yes, but look at the moon because we shall be going there one day, my son. I'm your father. No, that's something else.
But the moon landings. God, we'll be here all night.
We went to the moon, but that's another story. We did. My grandfather was involved in that. But anyway, that's another story. Asgardia. Okay. Oh, yes, we did. My grandfather was an astronomer. My father was a nuclear physicist, and it was a natural fit for me to get involved with the world's first space station. What is that? That's Asgardia. It's a brainchild of somebody called Dr. Igor Asherbely. Of course, he'd be called something like that. He's from Azerbaijan, of course. He's good at rocketry, naturally. And he thought that we need to prepare for life in space before we go up there and export all of our bad habits and kill ourselves and do all the bad things. So he set up Asgardia after Asgard, the city of the deities in mythology. His mission is twofold. One, to secure the first safe and ethical birth in space, because if we can't have children born in space, we'll never leave the Earth. And the second thing is to have the first permanent human space habitation. That's not like the International Space Station. You go up there for 6 months and then you come down. We mean people who are born there, they work there, they die there, they have families there, they fall in love, they get divorced, they write books, they manufacture things, and they watch the dawn on Mars. This is the vision of Asgardia. And in a way, we've been talking about the heavy duty stuff like unprecedented TV and so on. But the thing that lifts my eyes to the sky is the expectation and the hope that we are going to live there one day. And if in some way I can help make that a peaceful transition where we leave the wars behind and take the love with us, then I hope that my late father, my late grandfather will be proud.
This now, we've got the opportunity for me to get you to do something that you didn't do for Rob Brydon and sing a few bars of Fly Me to the Moon. Come on, do it for me. You didn't do it for Rob.
Fly me to the moon, let me take you to the stars, let me show you what
Jupiter and Mars.
Spring is like in Jupiter and Mars. In other words, hold my hand. In other words, darling, kiss me. That's what you get.
Lovely. Thank you.
No, I hadn't warmed up my voice. No, I once did that to the late James Whale. I sang along to a Spice Girls song. He had on a separate channel, and for 10 years, he played it back at me, going, stop right now. Don't do it to me. You can, of course, because as I said, it's a free speech station. That's what will be on the Christmas show reel at the Christmas party. I already know that.
We've covered so much. Weather Girls, Cheeky Girls, Spice Girls. Richie, do you want to finish off with asking a question? Because I've got loads, but we're running out of time. We've got approximately 3 minutes to go. So,
yeah, I think that about covers it for today.
Yeah, I think that's great.
Makes it sound like a police interview now.
I'll just turn off the cassette recorder here.
Yeah.
Is there anything you'd like to say about this interview that you've had with us today?
Yeah.
Did you enjoy yourself?
Yeah, Richie, Jacqui, it's great to have you on the team. And hopefully viewers, whatever they think about me, I try to say it like it is, and I'm still learning. I make so many mistakes. Every day I make mistakes, but you learn from them if you're willing to show the humility to do that. Yeah. I hope that the viewer sees this is authentic. And as I said before, we don't script this. We celebrate and drink deeply from the cup of life. And we believe that, well, at least I believe that the general public is smart enough to make their own judgments, because you can tell the real thing when you see it. And if you, Jacqui, and you, Richie, are willing to make this journey with us, I just hope that millions of people will join us and show us that the mainstream politicians, the mainstream media, they've just lost their way.
Yeah.
And perhaps we can breathe that soul back in.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm enjoying the journey so far. We're into the first hour already. So thank you very much for being our first ever guest on Beyond the Mainstream. And if people want to subscribe and watch the other shows, they can go find it on YouTube, under Unprecedented TV. So thanks again for coming on. And
yeah, thank you, Lembit.
Thank you, and see you soon.
It's been my pleasure, and thanks for joining us in this wonderful stable of independent-minded and free speech-friendly broadcasters on Unprecedented TV.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.